Let's get this over with, dudes. The Duff. The Duff by Cody Keplinger. Yeah, I just found out that the author was 18 when she wrote this book. I hate to say it, but it tracks. That tracks in a big way. I gave this book 1 star. I hated it. Here's my review on Goodreads. Hated it. Bianca is horrible. Far preferred the changes they made to the movie. Wish the book was more like the movie. Let me go over synopsis of the plot first. This is what I wrote down in my notion. Okay, so I'll just read it from here. Bianca has 2 good friends who are so hot, they always go to this teen bar. Cringe. And one night, the hot jock and womanizer of the school, Wesley, tries to strike up a conversation with her so that he can get closer to her 2 hot BFFs. According to him, girls take well to men who are kind to their duff. He explained what a duff is, and she is shocked and appalled. Designated ugly fat friend, for if you forgot or didn't know. Wesley continues to annoy Bianca. Her best friend's older brother is coming to town, who she had a horrible relationship with before she found out she was the other woman. This is when she was a freshman, he was a senior. With everything going on in her life, she assaults Wesley, and after a makeout sesh, something like the next day, the lines are kind of blurry, they start sleeping together. She's clear that she's using him for his body, and they joke, etc., but they sleep together all the time. He calls her Duffy, and she doesn't let him know that it bothers her for a long time, which he should know that. Her mom serves her dad divorce papers, and he spirals and drinks and wrecks their house. She cleans it up, and later in the weekend, Wesley comes over, and the dad, question mark, question mark, question mark, question mark, calls her a whore, etc., and then slaps her, question mark, question mark. Not as though, did that really happen, but more like, what's the connection here? In front of Wesley. Wesley takes him out by punching him, and then takes Bianca out of the house, and they sleep together, not for the first time. She realizes she's in love, and she calls her friend to come pick her up. She can't love him because he's a womanizer and a man whore, allegedly. So this whole time she hasn't told her friends anything, and after being blown off for months, they dump her ass for good reason. So then when her friend comes and picks her up, she tells her friend mostly everything. Her dad apologizes and goes to AA. She starts dating her longtime crush and Democrat-loving classmate, more on that later, who is a gentleman who doesn't look at her cleavage when she shows it, i.e. he's boring. She avoids Wesley like the plague. She has a life-altering realization that everyone with friends is the duff, which this is like the whole point of the book. Wesley sends her a bouquet and a long letter telling her he's changed forever and he loves her. Her mom comes back in town before meeting with her boyfriend. Before Bianca meets with her boyfriend, and she's kind of mean to her mom for no reason. She goes out to that teen bar with Toby. Everything is going well until she gasps, sees Wesley, and he's staring constantly at her, and she's also staring constantly at him, and Toby notices, and Toby says, go to him, I'm not over my ex either, LOL. So she runs to Wesley and literally trips into his arms, and they kiss and tease each other, and then it's literally the end of the book. So here are some quotes that I highlighted. And this is about Toby. So this is before they were dating. She says, something tells me you're kissing my ass a little bit there, Toby. He shrugged. Maybe, but not much. You're pretty great, Bianca. You tell it like it is. You don't seem like you're afraid to be yourself. And you're a Democrat. That makes you pretty awesome in my book. Just a weird thing to say for a 17-year-old to say. Could he not think of anything else like about her personality that he liked? He was like gonna be a politician or something. So I guess that tracks for his personality, like he had one. Here is another quote, which is like the whole point of the book, which is when she's realizing that everybody is a duff. Here's how she comes to the realization. There's a girl at her school who has a pregnancy scare, and she's like, wow, what a slut. She had a pregnancy scare. And then she's like, wait, she's not a slut. She's just a regular person. So here's the quote. So she's thinking about this girl, her name's Vicky. Vicky, or anyone else for that matter, she was never going to call Vicky or anyone else for that matter a whore again, because she is just like me, just like everyone else. That was something we all had in common. We were all sluts or bitches or prudes or duffs. I was the duff, and that was a good thing, because anyone who didn't feel like the Duff must not have friends. Every girl feels unattractive sometimes. Why had it taken me so long to figure that out? Why had I been stressing over that dumb word for so long when it was so simple? I should be proud to be the Duff, proud to have great friends who, in their minds, were my Duffs. I guess I agree with that kind of, like, everybody has insecurities, and it's a good realization to have, to know that everybody has insecurities. But that was really stupid because, like, literally the page before she had been like, Vicky's such a slut with a pregnancy scare. And then this page she's like, no, everyone's a slut. Snore. She was a horrible, horrible person. Very shallow. She treated her friends horribly for no reason. It was dumb because she had been sleeping with this like super hot jock guy at the school for the entire book, like sleeping with him like constantly. And then she was like, couldn't believe that he thought she was attractive, and also couldn't believe that her friends didn't just befriend her because she was uglier than them. Here's a quote that's an example of what a B-word she is. So they're at the bar. I didn't know what kind of band was supposed to be performing, but based on the number of kids with purple hair and lip rings who were walking in, I figured I'd be hearing emo music. There went my smile. Great. Whiny boys with guitars. So my style, right? That's a horribly mean thing to say and to think. And she just sucks. So here's what I wrote as my final consensus about the book. Bianca is a Duff, an inside Duff. She is literally the most judgmental, victimizing, whiny person. She spends the entire book feeling bad for herself while simultaneously treating her friends terribly for something that they didn't do, that they had no control over, and that they never acted on. I can see why the movie went with comedy. This book is so dark and not in a fun coming-of-age way. The plot with her dad made zero sense and just existed so Wesley could punch someone in her honor. I wish they had done with Toby what they did in the movie. His character was so dumb, and the ending literally made me roll my eyes. He was the most vanilla person in the worst way. Once again, his character just existed to make Bianca realize that she likes a man with a little spice. This book was far too long. The number of paragraphs that went on and on between each line of dialogue was too much. I could have stood with like 90% less of Bianca's terrible, selfish internal dialogue. She sucked. I think Wesley was a believable character, but believe it or not, he was way too good for her. Shake my head. So let me explain the plot of the movie a little bit. Pretty much, Wesley and Bianca were neighbors and they were childhood best friends, but they kind of grew apart as they got older, and he turned into the jock and she turned into, like, I don't know, the ugly girl or something. They strike up a friendship because he's going to get kicked off of the football team if he doesn't pass some class, so she starts tutoring him. And his ex-girlfriend tries to like get a revenge on her because she thinks that they're dating or something. And then she like still really likes Toby and she goes out with him, but it turns out that Toby is a B-word who wants to just get close to her to be with her friends. And I don't even think that was Wesley's intention in the beginning. And then it's the same story in that like she leaves her friends for no reason and thinks that they're horrible and dumb and mean, and then she realizes that everybody's the Duff and they all get back together and it's hunky-dory happy time. Like Toby's character in the book, like I was waiting for something horrible to happen with him because he was like the most boring regular person. Like why did she like him? He had no personality traits. I just kept expecting him to like do something that would lead to her finding out that he was really trying to be friends with her so that he could be friends with her friends. But that never happened. Also, the arc with her dad, I'm glad they took that out of the movie. It didn't make any sense that he was like the nicest, sweetest, funnest, most caring person, and then he drinks a little bit and like slaps her and calls her a slut. It just didn't really make sense. Okay, simply the moral of the story is I just did not like this book. I feel like I'm saying that so often. There was nothing that I related to. There was nothing that I thought was funny. The movie, I just loved that it was like, Mae Whitman is like, she's a comedy girl. Like, she does comedy so well. And maybe she was the one who like turned that movie into a comedy, or maybe it was somebody else's idea and she was just perfect for it. But Mae Whitman was great. Kim Jong was great. It just wasn't for me. I hope that some teenagers think it's funny or something, even though Bianca is a bad person. That was all that I have to say about it. Okay, bye.